Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And I think we are on like part 4 of Lisa Van Allen's testimony. Ooh, child, seemed like she was on that stand forever and ever and ever. And so you guys, today it looks like the case as a whole will be going to the jury. Jennifer Bonjean will give her closing arguments first today. Beau, Brindley, and Mary Judge for Milton Brown, they did their closing arguments yesterday, and I posted the recap, so you guys can go and check that out. And then Jennifer Bonjean first today, and then following her, the government will give their, so the government gets to go last so that they can once again recap their case and try to dispute whatever it is that the defense said. And so this judge basically put time restraints on the closing arguments. We didn't see that in the in the Eastern District of New York case. Like the prosecution, they were up there forever. It was just a mess. But anyway, Jennifer Bonjean has 105 minutes. So what is that, an hour and a half to give her, an hour and 45 minutes to give her closing. And then I believe the prosecution has some odd number, like 57 minutes to give their rebuttal to the closing arguments. And so all of that should start around 9 o'clock Central Eastern Time. And then the other thing that came out of court yesterday is that one of the jurors said that she could not continue. She had a panic attack. And so she was a white woman looked to be in her 30s, and she has been replaced with a white man who appears to be in his 60s. And so anyway, hold tight and we will get into Beau Brindley finishing up his cross of Lisa Van Allen. So we are picking up in the middle of Beau Brindley's cross-examination of Lisa Van Allen. The court took a break. They have a change of court reporters. And so as they re-enter, it says, the security officer, all rise. The judge, please be seated. Brindley, Mr. Brindley, you may continue your cross. And Brindley says, thank you. And so Brindley starts with a question, and remember, it's question, defense attorney, answer is the witness. And then it may switch up, and I'll let you know if it's switching up, because Lisa keeps cutting him off and keeps talking out of turn and that type of stuff. So this transcript reading was a little difficult, trying to keep up with the, back and forth between these two. So, Mr. Brindley, question. So when we stopped, you said that right before we stopped, you said that Mr. Brown called Mr. Kelly to explain the situation to him, I guess, in the first place, right? Now, let me stick a pin there for somebody who is watching this video for the first time and doesn't know what's going on. This is a federal trial in the Northern District of Illinois. And it is the government against Mr. Robert Kelly, his business associate, Darrell McDavid, and then one of his employees, Milton June Brown. So then Lisa replies, go back a little bit to what we're talking about. So she trying to question the attorney. So Brindley, yeah, we're talking about Yul Brown calling Mr. Kelly. You said that Yul Brown called Mr. Kelly to talk to him about the situation, right? Well, from what I know, he told me that he contacted him. I wasn't there when he called him. Okay, and then you said that after Yul contacted him, you contacted him, right? We were in contact, yes. No, a few minutes ago. I want to make sure that you tell me. Are you saying you contacted him and then you called him? I thought that's what you said. No, we were in contact after. Yes. This heifer, just so slick at the mouth. So you're in contact by you calling him, or did Mr. Kelly call you? Honestly, I don't really remember which one. I may have contacted him. I may have. He may have contacted me. Okay, Miss Van Allen, the truth of the matter is Yul Brown called Mr. Kelly to try to shake him down for money. Mr. Kelly called you because Yul Brown told him that you stole some kind of a tape, and he was trying to figure out what it was. That's the truth, right? No. So, and in fact, before Mr. Brown called him to try to shake him down for money, you called to try to shake him down for money, right? No. Well, in that Defense Exhibit McDavid 20, your testimony in 2008 before Mr. Kelly's jury at that time, you were asked these questions, and did you give these answers? All right, let me get this straight. You say you called Mr. Kelly. Yes. From Atlanta. Yes. You said to Mr. Kelly, I have a tape involving you and me and Rashona. Yes. And he said, you claim, I don't want to talk about this on the phone. You gave that testimony in Cook County in 2008, correct? If that's what it says, okay. When you're in 2008, you said that you were the one that called Mr. Kelly and told him all about this. That's what you told the lawyer in 2008. That doesn't mean that Yul didn't call him first. Well, if Yul called first and told him about it, then you wouldn't need to call down there, as you said here, and tell him that you had a tape. He'd already know because Yul told him. He doesn't know. Right. He doesn't know Yul. He knows me. Okay. So of course, he would ask me if it's true. Okay. So of course, he would ask me if it's true. Brindley, no. You're not saying that he's asking you if it's true. You're saying that in Cook County, when you went to the jury and you testified, you said under oath, you called him and told him it was true. That's what you said, right? Either way, no. This girl is so annoying. And then Lisa says no. And then Brindley, did you think they were going to ask him to author a song for them or something? It may have been. Yeah, no. The reality is you told him, according to you, Keith and them are going to need something to get the tape back. But you say now that you were not suggesting money. I wasn't suggesting anything. Well, when you said the words Keith and them are going to need something to get the tape back, the something, if it wasn't money, tell me what it was. How would I know what else he could? And then he cut her off and said you made the statement. How would you know? And then she said something could be, like you said, even it could be a song or, yeah, okay. They used to record with him, so it could have been anything. What did you say was the second thing you said? They used to record with him. Okay, and so it's funny then, you said Keith and them are going to need something to get the tape back. And you didn't suggest anything about money. But then Mr. Kelly said, oh, well, how about $250,000? I'll give it to you, right? And then she says, yes. Okay, so I want to make sure I understand. You said Keith and them need something to get the tape back. So then Rob says, I'll give you the money, right? Julian. And Julian is the AUSA. Objection, asked and answered by the witness. And then Lisa, who just is not paying attention to court protocol, says he didn't say it like that. And then the judge, well, you're true, sustained. And then Brindley, the man who you're saying needed something was Keith Murrell, not you. You agree with that, right? Yes. Okay. And you weren't expecting any money, right? No. And so with that explanation, Mr. Kelly says he's going to give you $250,000 to disperse however you choose. Yes. Okay, so then you have him say this to you. You claim he says this to you without you ever asking for money, and then you went to Chicago and you met with him, correct? Yes, but he didn't say that over the phone. That was when we met. Okay, he said it when you met. Okay, fair enough, fine. And then after you had that discussion, eventually you and Keith came to Chicago with the tape, right? We didn't come anywhere together. You said, and then Brindley, I didn't say, and then Lisa, you said you and Keith came to Chicago. Okay, if you don't like that wording, we'll try something else. You came to Chicago, right? Yes. At the same time, Keith came to Chicago, right? Yes, he came with the tape. Keith had the tape. Okay, fine. So you testified this morning that when you were coming to Chicago again, you weren't expecting to get any money when you came here, right? I wasn't looking for any sort of payments at all. But you weren't looking for any sort of payments and you hadn't asked for any money. But after you got here, you guys took lie detector tests, right? Yes. Keith failed the lie detector test because he's supposedly harboring copies of whatever this tape really was. And you got paid $20,000, right? I received $20,000, yes. Okay, so Keith fails the lie detector and he's the one that's got the tape, but you still got $20,000 even though you never suggested you should get any money. Do I have it about right? You got it right. Okay. When you come back a second time and Keith comes back a second time and then you get $50,000, right? Yes. And you said, and once again, when you came back the second time, you weren't seeking or expecting any money, right? Julian, objection. It mischaracterizes the witness prior testimony. Brindley, I'm asking if it's true. Judge, she can correct it. Brindley, so when you came back the second time, you were seeking and expecting money the second time. I mean, at this point, I had spoken with Daryl and he already let us know that it would be dispersed and what would happen. So yeah, we knew what was going to happen. Okay, so you said you got $50,000 the second time, right? Yes. But you said that you didn't get the same amount that Keith got, right? I didn't the second time. Yeah. And you said the reason was because Daryl didn't want to give it to you or Daryl refused to give it to you, right? Yes, he did. Yeah, but you agree with me, Miss Allen, that Daryl worked for Robert Kelly, right? Yes, he did. Robert Kelly was Daryl's boss, and there's no doubt about that, right? Yes. Okay. And you told me that this whole thing started out with Robert telling you that you were going to get $250,000 to disperse as you wished. Yes. Right. Okay. And then Daryl McDavid somehow, according to you, is now making the decision that you can't get the money. Is that right? That's true. Okay. So Daryl McDavid is limiting how much money you're going to get. It's him, right? He did it. He limited the amount of money, right? What do you mean? Daryl, you're saying he limited? He said that you're not getting the money. That's what you were thinking you were supposed to get, right? Can you read where he said that, like the statement, how he said it? No, I'm talking about your testimony. I don't have a statement in my hand. Okay, do you have my testimony? I would like to hear what I said. You're telling me that I said, can I? I'm asking you, hear that? I'm asking you, okay? Did Daryl McDavid tell you that he was not going to give you the amount of money that you were supposed to get? He gave me the 50 and told me to come back I'd have to come back again for the other 30, if that's what you're asking. Yeah, all right. And you're saying that Rob said you were going to get all the money to disperse. Well, you didn't call Rob and tell him, hey, Daryl is going against your word, breaking your deal, did you? Daryl told me that Rob already knew everything. Remember after he threatened me? Okay, wait, what? Wait, what? Daryl threatened you? That's what you said? Threatened my life, yes. Well, here's the thing. That he should have murked me from the beginning. No, I heard you say that. Yeah, that's good. Not good that you're saying he said that, but I'm interested in the timing. You just told me here now that you came back the second time and Daryl said you weren't getting the full amount of money you were supposed to and you'd have to come back another time, right? Yes, I had to come back. And you said, and Daryl threatened me, right? What do you mean, I said? You just said a second ago. He did threaten me. Yeah, but, and you said you were scared for your life. Would you be if somebody said they should have murked you from the beginning? I'm going to come to, and then Lisa cuts him off and says yes. And then Daryl cuts her off and says the truth of what you claim he said in a minute. But you're scared for your life, right? He threatens you. And what you said was, well, Daryl told you that Rob already knew that he was limiting the money and Daryl threatened me, so I didn't call Rob. I understand that, right? I understood that, right? Correct. So Lisa, he said that Rob already knew everything that was going on. Yeah, okay. Here's the thing. This trip here is the second trip when he limited the money and you're saying he threatened you, saying he was going to murk, whatever that is, whatever you said, right? After that, you went down to Georgia. You went home, right? Yes. And you were afraid for your life because you had been threatened, right? Not then, but yes, he did threaten my life. I didn't say he threatened me on the second trip. That's not what I said. Okay, 2 minutes ago when I was asking you, Miss Van Allen, and then she cuts him off, I didn't say that. Okay, and then he repeats, 2 minutes ago, Miss Allen, when I asked you, well, didn't you call Rob and tell him that Daryl was going against your word and not giving you your money? And you said, well, no, don't you remember? Daryl said Rob already knew and he threatened me. Lisa, right. Brindley, okay. So Lisa, I didn't say that behind, and then he cuts her off and says, a moment ago, it sounded like then he was threatening you before you came back the third time. No, I'm saying that I didn't call him then because I called him. I did call him, but not then. Okay, let me read that again. I'm saying that I didn't call him then because I called him. I did call him, but not then. So Brindley, you did call him, and then Lisa cuts him off. Just not then. I didn't call him then, no. And then Brindley, but not then. Okay. So as I understand you now, you're saying that he didn't threaten you then at the second meeting. He threatened you when you came back for the third time, right? To my knowledge, yes, he did. Okay, well, because if he threatened you the second time and you were so scared for your life, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for you to come back again to see him, would it? I said the third time, so, and then he cuts her off. I know, because it wouldn't make sense for it to be the second time, right? I'm not, say it again. Sure. If he really threatened you and you were really scared of it and he threatened you the second time you were there, it would not make any sense for you to come back a third time, right? Yeah, if he told me to, why wouldn't I come back if he told me to come back? Okay, so then I don't understand. Are you saying he threatened you on the second meeting or the third meeting? The third time, but I don't understand. You don't understand? You're mixing me up. Okay, let's talk about when you discuss this with some law enforcement agencies and see if that's more clear. Oh, in April of 2019, you agreed earlier, if you looked at it, that you had a conversation with some federal agents from Chicago. Do you recall that discussion with you? Yes. Okay, yes. Okay. During that discussion, you said to the attorney, I'm sorry, to the U.S. attorneys and the federal agents involved in the interview. 1 second, Mr. Brindley. I'm sorry, Judge. Counsel conferring. Okay, then Brindley. Okay, so when you were talking with the agents in April of 2019 about this threatening incident, you said that you were threatened during the meetings at the attorney's office. You were threatened by McDavid, and you recalled something about we should have murked you or murdered you from the beginning. And then you went on to say, since the issue remained unsettled, you and Keith returned to the lawyer's office on a later date and time. You remember saying that to the agents in April of 2019? I don't remember verbatim, but yes, I did say, that sounds right, that he was going to murk me from the beginning. Yeah, but that you told him then is that he made this threat and the issue was still unsettled, and so you came back again to see him again after the threat, right? I may have worded it incorrectly, but yes, I was stating everything that happened. So that, and then she cuts him off and says yes, and then he continues, might have been another incident where somebody made a mistake. I didn't say, and then he cuts her off, right, and then she continues, made a mistake. I said I may have stated it incorrectly. Yeah, I didn't say they made a mistake, but now you made a mistake this time, right? It's very possible for me to have made a mistake with that. Okay, well, let's get down to this murking thing since we're on the subject. You claim that, first of all, Daryl McDavid is Robert Kelly's accountant, right? You know that. I assume so. Okay, and he has a business manager, right? And he was a business manager, right? I assume so. Okay, I did mean you didn't have any reason to believe that he was some sort of a murderous accountant, did you? Not until he said he should have murked me from the beginning. Now, you say that he said that, but one thing is true, though. You have tried to get other people to say that they knew about this murking statement, haven't you? Like who? No. How about Keith Merle? Remember him? Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, you talked about having these Facebook conversations with Keith Merle. Okay, so y'all know she's lying now. Okay, right. Yeah, okay. And let me ask you something. When was it that you first found out that there was going to be a criminal investigation into some of these issues related to what you've been discussing today? Do you know? What do you mean? What I've been discussing today, your testimony, the charges against Mr. Kelly, and which event is several charges. This trial, the one you're giving testimony about today, when did you learn that there was a criminal investigation afoot? I don't remember exactly, but it was, I'm sure, a couple of years, maybe almost 3 years ago, 2 or 3, something like that. Okay, well, on October 24th of 2018, did you have a Facebook conversation with Keith Merle in which you asked Merle, did I ever speak to you about why I was crying when you met with Daryl? Yeah. With the tape? Yes. When you asked, was I okay? So in October of 2018, you asked Keith Merle, did I ever tell you about why I was crying when we met with Daryl with the tape? Right. And what you were talking about there was this threat, right? I assume so. I mean, you didn't finish the, oh, I will. No, I will. But first, I want to just, well, I guess we can finish. We can go ahead with it. You can take a look at it if you'd like. This is McDavid Exhibit 2122. McDavid Exhibit 22, Defense Exhibit 22. So she got him flustered. Facebook messages between you and Keith Merle, and what you said to Mr. Merle on October 24th, 2018 is, did I ever speak to you about why I was crying when we met Daryl with the tape? When you asked, was I okay? Yes, I asked that. I did that, yes. You asked him that question. And he said no, right? Right. Okay. But here's the thing. You just told me that Mr. McDavid threatened you. It wasn't the second time. You told me he threatened you the third time that you came to Chicago. That's what you testified to this morning, correct? That he threatened you the third time, the last time you came. Right, yes. But you said this morning, the last time you came, Keith wasn't there, right? Keith wasn't there the last time? Yeah. And the last time you came, there was no tape, was there? Why would there be a tape the last time? No. Well, what you asked, I know you look confused now, but look at what you asked Mr. Merle. Did I ever speak to you about why I was crying when we met with Daryl with the tape when you asked, was I okay? And he said no, right? Right, yes, I'm looking at it. And then on the next portion of this dialogue, you said to Mr. Merle, I didn't tell you Daryl threatened my life. He said, we should have murked you from the beginning. I didn't tell you that. Keith's answer was, wow, that's crazy, right? Yes, what was wrong? And then Lisa said, yes, what's wrong with saying that? And Brindley, I'm not saying anything is wrong with it, but I am starting to get at, what I am starting to get at is this. Miss Van Allen, so what you're talking about when you're talking to Mr. Merle is this incident where you say you were crying because you were threatened by Mr. McDavid, right? I'm not, honestly, I don't remember. You're not sure? Well, it says, I didn't tell you Daryl threatened my life. That's what you're, right, talking about is the Merck thing. Yes, I did say that. Okay, so you did say that. And I mean, you see it, huh? You were looking at it, right? Yeah, I know. I gave that, Brindley. But at the time that you're talking about that precedes this, let's read it all in order. Did I ever speak to you about why I was crying when we meet Daryl with the tape? When I asked you, was I okay? No. I didn't tell you Daryl threatened my life. He said we should have murked you from the beginning. I didn't tell you that. Wow, that's crazy, right? Yeah, I'm reading it. And then he talks about, Lisa's just all over the place. And then he talks about asking the production company wanted to speak with someone who would know. I'm sorry, you're talking about it. I apologize. I made the wrong pronoun. Okay, let's go back. So McDarrell read the text exchange between Lisa and, the Facebook exchange between Lisa and Keith. And then Lisa jumps in and said, yeah, I'm reading it, saying that she's reading the text along with him. So then Daryl says, and then he talks about, I'm asking the production company wanted to speak with someone who would know. I'm sorry, you're talking about it. I apologize. I made the wrong pronoun. And then, okay, I don't know what he's reading here. So then they have in quotations, I'm asking the production company wanted to speak with someone who would know he threatened my life. I told other people. I just thought I told you as well. Okay, so he's continuing the Facebook exchange. And he was misreading it at first, and now he's rereading it. So that's what Lisa wrote. And then Keith replied, yeah, you never told me. I always was wondering why. So you're definitely talking about the threat, right? And then Lisa says, it seems so, yes. And this has got to be the same story of a threat that you've been trying to tell us today, right? Right. Yeah, let's go back to page 1 now. Did I ever speak to you about why I was crying when we met Daryl with the tape? Miss Van Allen, you've told the jurors that there was no tape at the third meeting, right? Mr. Julian, objection. This has been asked and answered numerous times, Judge. And then the judge, all right, go ahead quickly. Brindley, I will. So Brindley, you told the jurors that there was no tape at the third meeting, right? There wasn't. Okay, so if you were crying when you met with and Keith wasn't there at the third meeting, right? No. All right, so if you're crying about a threat at the third meeting and there's a tape involved, let me rephrase that. So if you're crying and there's a tape involved, then you're not, and Keith is there, yeah. let me finish. You're not talking about the third meeting at all, are you? You can't be. It doesn't make no sense, right? So you're asking me, did Daryl threaten my life the second time or the third time? No, I'm asking, and then Lisa cuts him off because he definitely threatened my life. I know that's what you like to say, but the thing of it is, Miss Allen, Julian, objection to the commentary, Your Honor. All right, Brindley, the thing of it is, Miss Allen, that you've told us a story about how you were so afraid for your life. It's this third meeting, and you were so upset because of the threat that you talked to the state's attorney's office. But when you're trying to tell Keith Murrell about this same supposed threat, you're talking about a time when there was a tape and Keith was there, right? Repeat that. Yeah. When you're talking about this time to Keith, talking to him about, did I tell you about the threat? When you're, Julian, objection, Your Honor, this is just harassing. Brindley cuts him off. When you're talking, Julian asks the question. Lisa's so confused. She don't know what's going on. And then Brindley, when you're talking to Mr. Murrell about the threat, the time you're talking to him about it and saying that it happened involved Daryl and the tape, right? Yes, because I know he saw me crying. Yeah, but if you were crying at the time of the tape, it wouldn't have been the third time. Let me ask you this, Miss Van Allen. Are you prepared to admit at this point that we've looked at this and it doesn't make any sense? Are you prepared to admit that this whole story about Darren McDavid, the accountant, making death threats is a lie? No, I'm not prepared to admit that because it's not true. If he made a death threat while the tape was involved, that had to be one of the first two meetings, and you didn't go to the police after the first or the second meeting, did you? What does that have to do with Daryl? The question, threatening me. You didn't go to the police. No, I didn't go to the police. So then the judge, wait, you can't both talk at the same time. And then Lisa, I didn't go to the police. No. And then the judge, back up, ask another question. Brindley, okay, you didn't go to the police after the first or the second meeting. And you told us today that when you went to the police, it was because you were so upset about this threat, right? About my life, yes, and my children. Yes, I have a daughter, right. And as we got stuck on the fact that this story didn't make any sense in terms of the timing, what may have gotten lost in that when you tried to prompt Mr. Murrell about, hey, do you remember this happened? He had no idea what you were talking about. That's also true. Julian, object to the form of the question. Lisa, not paying attention to the court. No, that's not true. Julian, and the commentary. And then they said unreportable crosstalk. And then the court reporter, one at a time, please. Lisa, sorry. Judge, wait. Julian, object to the form of this question. Judge, wait. The objection is sustained. Ask another question. Brindley, yes, Your Honor. So you told us today that Daryl McDavid told you that you needed to sign some statement with a lawyer, right? Yes. This is when the time when there was no tape and you claimed that he was threatening you, right? Yes. So he came up with the idea that you have to sign this statement. Go to the lawyer and sign this statement, right? I'm not sure if it was his idea or Rob's idea. I know that's what I was told to do. He communicated it to you, though. It was McDavid that communicated it to you, right? Yes. Ms. Van Allen, remember when we were talking, we've been talking repeatedly about this conversation you had with federal agents in April of 2019. Yes. Okay. Well, Judge, anything further? Mr. Brindley, yes, Judge. Oh, yes, I'm just trying to locate the portion I want to ask the witness about. So what happened was, to make sure I understand all this, the lawyer was there and you signed a statement saying that all of the things you're saying now about Rashona and Robert and this threesome, all of it, you signed a statement saying none of it was true, right? In sum and substance. You're talking about when Daryl, yeah, when Daryl made you sign the statement. That I repeat that again? Sure. Daryl told you that you needed to sign the statement. You needed to sign the statement with the lawyer indicating that you didn't know anything about Robert and Rashona ever having any sort of sexual relations, correct? That I didn't have any relations with Rashona? Yes. And you did that. You went to the lawyer and you signed this statement, correct? Yes. And you've said without hesitation that Darren McDavid is the one who asked you to do that, right? Yes. Okay. April 26, 2019, when speaking to the federal agents in Chicago, you said, as read, an attorney at the office asked me to make a video recorded statement denying that I had sex with Kelly and Rashona. I agreed to make that statement. That's what you told about who asked you to make this statement in April of 2019. You're twisting my words. The attorney, yeah, that's what it says. But the attorney, okay, it said, they told me the statement to write to say. He told me what to say. Okay, what you told the agents then was you added, Van Allen added that an attorney at the office asked her to make a video recorded statement. They did, denying she had sex with Kelly and Rashona. Yes, that's what you told them then. Because Daryl told me to do that. Yes, I went to the room with them and he was out, but you in the hall did not tell the agents at that time anything about Daryl telling you to do it. At that time, it was a lawyer, right? Mr. Julian, I'm going to ask that the witness be allowed to answer the questions, Your Honor. Brindley, I'm asking the witness can answer. I'm asking the question. And then Brindley continues, at that time, and then Lisa cuts him off. Wait, hold on. At that time, and then the judge, wait, you have a question. Okay, I keep jumping around, guys, I'm sorry. Get back up here to the previous page. So the judge says, hold on. This is so annoying. I keep telling y'all about that little black bar that crosses out the bottom of the page. Okay, so the judge says, wait, you have a question. Now, you want her to answer that question, Brindley. I'll ask it again to make sure that we're all clear here. Brindley, question. So, when you were talking to the agents in April of 2019, you didn't say anything about Darren McDavid asking you to sign any statement. In April of 2019, you said it was a lawyer who asked you, with no mention of him doing it. I'm sure there's with no mention of him doing it. Then Lisa replies, I'm sure there's mention of him in that somewhere, maybe not right there with, and then Brindley cuts her off and said, you think there's, and then she cuts him off with the document, and then he cuts her off. You think there's a place in the April of 2019, then she cuts him off. So you're saying that he cuts her off. Interview report that says that Daryl told you you had to sign this statement. Really, Lisa, I'm saying that Daryl's in that, my whole in that. And then Brindley mumbles something, whole statement. And then, oh my God, this is so confusing. And then Brindley various times here. Julian, again, Your Honor, I'm going to ask. And then the court reporter says one at a time. And then Julian, that the witness be allowed to answer the question. Brindley, but my point, Miss Van Allen, is, well, in order for her to answer the question, she first got to let him ask the question. So Brindley says, hold on a second. So Brindley, but my point, Miss Van Allen, is on this subject about, there's that black bar again. Okay, hold on. Okay. Let me get back down here. Okay, but my point, Miss Van Allen, is on the subject about the statement you're now saying he told you you had to sign in April of 2019. You didn't mention him in connection with that statement at all, but instead mentioned a lawyer. And that is correct, right? Yes, in that statement. Okay, great. So you told us this morning as well that on your third trip to Chicago, Daryl was supposed to have given you more money, right? Yes, I mean, I don't know verbatim what I said, but yes, that he was to do the 30,000. So he was supposed to give you the 30,000 on this third trip, and you testified this morning that he did give you the money, right? 30,000, but there was still 50 that nobody received, right? So you said that he gave you the 30,000 at this third meeting, and then there was more that you were going to get after Robert's trial. That's what your testimony was this morning, correct? That's what yeah, because okay. Then Lisa continues, was 200,000 at that point, and it was supposed to be 250 for, yeah. And then Brindley, and you, the final time you came to Chicago to get money was the third time, right? Yes, where you got the $30,000. Yes. Okay, the same interview in April of 2019, you told the agents at that time that you returned to Chicago on a later date to receive a final payment from Kelly. That payment did not materialize. That's what you told them then, right? Can you put that back up? I'm trying to make sure you're not twisting anything. Can I read all of more than just that one line, Brindley? No, you can read the part we're talking about. You said that you returned to Chicago on a later date, on another occasion, to receive a final payment from Kelly. That payment did not materialize, and a final payment was to have been made at the conclusion of the state trial, right? I read that right, correct? And then Lisa, I don't recall saying that payment didn't materialize. Okay. You think that maybe somebody else made a mistake in reflecting what you had to say. I've always stated $30,000. Yeah, no, apparently not always. See, that's the thing. Julian, object. That is improper impeachment of the witness. Brindley, I'll withdraw it. You're right. Judge, that was out of line. Okay, Judge, I'll withdraw it, Judge. That was out of line. I apologize. And then the judge, let's move it along. And then counsel is conferring. And then Brindley. Okay, we were talking earlier about Facebook messaging between you and Keith Merle. Yes. And you talked about talking to Keith about a tape and whether maybe Chuck had one. Do you remember that? I talked to him about what? A tape, and whether Chuck might have a copy. Yes. Okay, and you had that dialogue with him on Facebook Messenger, correct? I believe so. I know it was on Facebook, yes. All right. And this is going to be Defense Exhibit McDavid 23. I'm showing you once again, with respect to the tape, whatever you said, you're talking about with Chuck. You said, I still don't want it out. That's why I asked if anybody has a copy, because if anyone should, it should be who's on it, not just floating around. Wouldn't you agree if anyone should have it? And Mr. Merle's response, if it ever existed, laugh out loud, nobody should have it but you, right? Lisa, right, but where were you referring to? Oh, God. Brindley, well, up here you're talking about I still don't want it out. And that's why I asked if anyone has a copy. It sounds like you're talking about this tape that you've been telling us the story about, right? Copy of the tape? Yeah, the copy of it. Yeah, not the one that I gave to Daryl. Let's leave Daryl out of it for a second. We'll come back to him. And then when you start talking about a copy of this tape, Mr. Merle's answer is, if it ever existed, laugh out loud. Should nobody have it but you? He's saying another copy, yes, if it ever existed. And you told us earlier that it was Keith Merle who had the tape in his possession, right? Yes, he's saying a copy though, because we already gave it up, turned it over to Daryl. So if another copy exists, it should be in my possession, but it's not. That's why I'm asking him, does another copy exist? Miss Van Allen, as you can see, there have been multiple occasions when you talk to agents where your story as it relates to Daryl McDavid has changed, right? Not as it relates to him, no. I may not have said that his name in every situation. I know you have said it. It hasn't changed. You have said his name a lot. I'll give you that. But the details we've gone over this afternoon, there have been a lot of differences between what you said today and what you said back then, right? It's not differences about what I said about Daryl. No, it's not. Okay, you would agree with me that I have talked to you repeatedly about statements and interviews about Daryl, right? You asked me things about Daryl, yes. Yes, and those interviews and the statements about Daryl I've talked about have said different things about him than what you tried to tell us this morning. Mr. Julian, objection, asked and answered. Judge, yeah, you've been Brindley. That's fine. I'm coming to another point. Brindley. My point ultimately, Miss Van Allen, is that the reason for all of this changing of stories about Mr. McDavid is because the tape that you turned over to the lawyers in Chicago was not really a tape of Rishona and you and Robert. That's why this story is so screwed up, right? No, there was a tape of us. There was a tape. It was an embarrassing tape for Rob, to be sure. But it was a tape of Robert and you and his wife, and that is what this whole hassle was about, right? Definitely not. I've never had any relationship with Drea, ever. I'm sure you'll say that now, but Julian, objection to the commentary, Your Honor, Brindley. Okay. Miss Van Allen, the reason that your description of the sequence of the scenes on this tape you've been telling us about is different on the documentary and different in the grand jury in Cook County is not because everybody is making mistakes. Different in front of the jury trial in Cook County is not because everybody is making mistakes. It's because that video is one you're telling a story about, but not one. These threesome things is not one that really existed and was sold to Mr. Kelly. Julian, object to the form of the question. Brindley, was it? They're just skipping all over court protocol. It's because Brindley just skipped over Julian, who's making an objection, and says, was it? And then the judge steps in and says, well, she can disagree with it, I guess. So their Brindley question, was it, judge, or agree with it? So Lisa said, I didn't hear the question. Oh my God. Okay, the reason that you had all these problems with the sequence of the scenes, the surviving lies statement, where they were different than what you said today, the jury testimony in 2008, where you said something different about what you've seen, then what you said today, the reasons for those differences is because the tape that's supposed to contain Rishona and you and Robert, that's not really the tape that they were dealing with, that the lawyers in Chicago were dealing with back in 2007, is it? Yes, it is. Okay. Why would I need to go to write something to a lawyer about Drea and Rob and me? That doesn't make any sense. Well, the reason you had to, you wrote the statement. Judge, wait, you're the one that asked the questions, not her. Brindley, thank you, Judge. I appreciate that. And then the judge says, let's, and then Brindley cuts him off. Oh my God. And then Brindley says the reason, then the judge cuts him off and says, let's get going so we can finish. And then Brindley, I know I'm working on it, Judge. I have one more point after I get done with this, and then I'll be done once I complete that point. So Brindley says, but the reason, Miss Van Allen, now that you mention it, and why you made the statement with the lawyer is because when Daryl McDavid told you there's no more money, you're not getting any more money, you threatened to go to the police and say a bunch of damaging stuff about Rob, didn't you? Definitely not. And when you made those threats, that's when the lawyer said, bring her in here. Let's interview her and see what she's got to say for real, right? Definitely not. Okay, well, the fact of the matter is, Miss Van Allen, when it comes to this tape that you say is Rob, Rashona, and you, we talked about this earlier. Your word about what's on it and my memory is very important, right? Julian, objection, asked and answered. Brindley, you said earlier that the consistency of your statements about the tape were important. Do you remember saying that at least? Julian, asked and answered. Brindley, it's a setup. It's leading into the final point, Judge. I promise I'm getting done. I'm getting there. I see the end of the tunnel. All right, let's go. Brindley, all right. Okay, so your word and your consistency of your statements is important, right? I said it depends on the situation. That's what I said. Okay, this is the situation, your situation. We're talking about you now, not generally. But your word about these subjects is important, right? Yes. So let's come to this. You gave a bit of testimony this morning that I made a note of because Mr. Julian asked you when you met Mr. Kelly, did you tell him how old you were? And you said, yes, I did. I told him I was 17 years old. Do you remember saying that? Yes. And you said you met Kelly at the Home Alone video shoot, right? Yes. You're sure of that? Yes. Okay. And when your birth date is June 11th, 1980, right? Yes. Okay. So when you told Mr. Kelly that you were 17 years old, I mean, you obviously knew your age, right? I mean, of course I know my age, but I had just turned 18. Now that's what I'm trying to, are you suggesting that when you met Mr. Kelly at this video shoot, you forgot your actual age? Really? No, I'm not suggesting that. Okay, well, here's the deal. You know now that the video shoot for Home Alone, the song, was shot in August, the end of August. I'm sorry, what? Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so I think one of his co-counsels is telling him that the video wasn't in August. And then Brindley says, oh, was it September? Talking to counsel. Then he says, I take it back. And then Brindley continues with Lisa and says, you know that it's September of 1998 when that video was shot. You know it now, don't you? Of course it was in 1998, yes. No, it was September 1998, right? I don't know when. I know it was August or September. Yes, August or September. Your birthday was in June of 1998, right? Correct. So in June, you turned 18, right? Yes. So by August or September, you certainly, when you met Mr. Kelly, you certainly hadn't forgotten and believed that you were really 17, did you? No. So when you said this morning that you told Mr. Kelly you were 17 years old, was that statement false? When I thought back to the video shoot, it was cold. And I assumed that because it was cold, it was fall. I mean, it was winter or spring. The girl, not the charade clothing line. Wait a minute, y'all. Do y'all watch Real Housewives of Atlanta? And the cast member Sheree came out with that sportswear line or something like that. And they asked her when was it debuting, and she said September, winter, spring, or fall, or something like that. And here comes Lisa quoting Sheree in this testimony. So anyway, he says, yeah, okay, you told the prosecutor this morning that you told Mr. Kelly you were 17 years old. Are you? Yes, saying now you told him that you were 18 years old. I didn't say that. I don't know when. I know it was August or September. Yes, August or September. Your birthday. Wait a second. I'm sorry, the page skipped again. So she says, yeah, okay, you told the prosecutor this morning that you told Mr. Kelly you were 17 years old. Are you? Yet then she cuts him off and says yes. And then he finishes saying now you told him that you were 18 years old. I didn't say that. Okay, so you did tell him that you were 17 years old. Yes, at a time when you were actually 18 years old. at a time? And then she says yes. And then he says, okay, now, it's not just Mr. Kelly who you said you were 17 years old to. When you testified before the grand jury in this case, you told the grand jury that you met Robert Kelly when you were 17 years old, right? Yes, based off of what I could remember. Okay, and obviously at the time you met Robert Kelly, from that I understand, it was very memorable, right? Not the time of year, no. Okay, but the occasion when you met him, you know it was that video, right? Yes, but I didn't know the time of year. He gave me a sweater. I thought it was cold. Okay, I'm not asking whether you thought it was cold or not. You're saying we're going to get to another point on this subject that's helpful to you or maybe to me. But ultimately, jury, object to the commentary. Brindley, I withdraw that. That was improper. Miss Van Allen, you told the grand jury in this case you met him when you were 17, right? Yes or no? Yes. You told the jury in his 2008 trial you met him when you were 17, right? Yes. When you met with the agents in March of 2019, April of 2019, you told them when you were interacting with Mr. Kelly in the beginning you were 17, right? To the best of my knowledge, I was. Yes, but you understand, and you understand when you were talking to the agents in this case that being 17 made you a victim of federal CP. You understand that, didn't you? You understood that, didn't you? Honestly, I didn't. In fact, they told you when the charges were first going to come out and had a connection to you, they told you that you were going to be called minor 2, right? You remember that? I wasn't aware of that before they said it, though. I was not. Yeah, okay. They told you were going to be minor 2, right? I guess if that's what you said, if they said, yeah. And they told you were going to be minor 2 because being 17 allowed you, that made you a minor for purposes of the charges, right? I guess so. Okay, on Surviving Lies, you said you met Robert Kelly when you were 17 years old, right? I told you yes. Okay. I've told everyone that because that's what I thought at the time. Okay, being 17, that claim, it allowed you to say that you were a minor and a victim of Mr. Kelly. Julian, this has been asked and answered. Brindley, cutting him off, right. Julian, Your Honor, objection. Brindley, no, I am asking this question. The court, well, Brindley, I'm getting there, Judge. This is another point coming. It's important. I'm not wasting time. Okay, go ahead. Hurry up. And then there's laughter. Because we're going to get Lisa and Eli's on the record by any means necessary. Okay, so then it says, Miss Van Allen, being 17 allowed you to claim that you were a minor and a victim of Kelly, right? I've never claimed to be a minor or a victim. I said what I knew to be true. Okay, well, and you've said, now you've admitted to me, you told all kinds of people that you were 17. You told the prosecutors and the grand jurors. I've always said to the best of my knowledge, as far as I can remember, but there's something else that you said too, that maybe you don't remember. You said, so now what you're saying is, you've been mistaken all along about your age at the time you met Mr. Kelly, right? When I was discussing it, yes. Okay, yeah. And the only reason anybody you ever admitted that you weren't 17 is because the prosecutors in this case who calling me this time of morning? My goodness. Where was I at? You said, so now what you're saying is you've been mistaken all along about your age at the time you met Mr. Kelly, right? When I was discussing it, yes. Yeah, and the only reason anybody you ever admitted that you weren't 17 is because the prosecutors in this case confronted you with the fact that the video wasn't shot at a time that would allow you to be 17, didn't they? They told you. I don't remember that. You don't? No, I mean, they probably did, but and then he says, yes. And then Lisa, I'm not saying they didn't, but I don't remember. Okay, all right, because now you would acknowledge, I hope, that if it's August of 1998, you're definitely 18 and not 17, right? Say it again. Ooh, child, he just be taking her back and forth. And then he says, you were definitely, oh my God, this black bar. Okay, say it again. You were definitely, oh, get me a new Adobe program. You were definitely 18 and not 17 in August of 1998. Oh, Lord. You agree with that? Right, yes. Well, here's the thing. When you were telling your stories, your accounts of the events to agents, there was an incident when you spoke to them on the 28th of May, 2019, the agents from Chicago. I'll show that to you so it refreshes your memory as to the date. Do you see that? Miss Van Allen, interview, May 28th, 2019. And she licks her lips. And then she says, He says, do you see that? I see it. Okay, Miss Van Allen, during that interview, you told the agents this. On one occasion, when you were under 18 years of age, you traveled to Chicago to meet Kelly using the identification of an older female friend. You told the agents that, didn't you? If it's there, but I have used a friend of mine's identification before. Right, but here, so it's not false. Here's the thing. You were 18 the whole time. You've admitted now you were 18 the whole time you knew Robert Kelly, right? Right, yes. Okay. And so if you were going to meet Kelly and you were already 18 and you know your age, then there's no way in the world you would need to borrow anybody's older ID. I borrowed her ID because I didn't have mine. I lost mine. I wanted to travel. Okay, so when you said to the agents on one occasion when you were under 18, you traveled to Chicago to meet Kelly using an identification card of an older female friend, it was because you lost your ID. That's their statement. You do know that, right? It's your statement. And then she says, and then he says, as it's been reported. They wrote that, yeah, and you didn't. I take it you didn't tell them anything about this. I did tell them about me using an older friend's ID. Yes, I did. You did, and you told them that because you were leading them to believe that you were under 18 and you wanted to be a victim, right? No, I don't want to be a victim because being a victim allows you to sell books, right? Julian, objection, asked and answered. The court, I think you're Brindley, fair enough, giving the final argument. And then Brindley. So, okay, let me go back. So the judge says, I think you're, and then Brindley cuts him off and says, fair enough. And then the judge said, giving the final argument. So, Mr. Brindley, when you're being 18 years old and not a minor at the time, what you were, as it turns out, was a grown adult person that was engaging, according to you, in sex with a 14-year-old, right? I thought she was 16. Okay. Which is still a minor, but I didn't think she was 14. I'm going to pick up on, I was going to get there anyway. You thought she was 16, so it was okay. I never said it was okay. I'm just stating the truth, which is that what I knew. Okay, you were 18 years old. You were an adult. You were having sex with what you thought, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt, you thought was a 16-year-old, right? 16-year-old? And you know that's a crime, right? I mean, that was not something we were thinking of at the time. I know I wasn't. You weren't thinking about it? No, at the time. So I have friends that are certainly after 16 and I was 18, certainly after the law enforcement started talking to you about this case and you started talking about getting immunity, you knew then that it was a crime, right? Yes, but I was actually testifying before I even knew that I needed immunity. In 2008, when you gave your testimony before the jury, then They gave you immunity to state and federal, right? Yes. So you did know. Not right away. They told me, they pulled me to the side. So right before you testified, they pulled you to the side and say, hey, we're going to give you immunity. Are you kidding me? I was answering, I was hearing yes. All right, Miss Van Allen. Well, at the beginning of our discussion this afternoon, I asked you, when people lie repeatedly, does that mean that's someone's word you can trust? And you said it depends on the circumstances, right? Yes, I did. And the answer and the reason you had to say it depends on the circumstances is because you knew very well that your circumstances here do not indicate someone who has been honest, do they? I am honest indeed. Brindley, I have no further questions for this court. Who's next? Brindley, individual judge. And then Miss Leon, who is Milton David's attorney, says, Judge, I have a very short cross if. And then the judge says, pardon. And then Miss Leon says, I have a very short cross if you don't mind. And then the judge says, all right, go ahead. Ooh, child. The judge keep forgetting Milton Brown even a part of this case and who his attorneys are, why they sitting at that table. So then Miss Leon says, hello, Miss Van Allen. She says, hello. So I just want to ask you some quick questions, not about what's on the tape, okay, but the physical tape themselves, okay? And the reason you had to, no, wait a minute. We're jumping around again. And she says, right. And then he says, yes. And, okay, wait a second. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Okay. Let's see. So she said, you've stated that the tapes were left in the gym bag. And then Lisa says, right. And then I can't get down to this page. Okay, yes. And the gym bag was rarely, if ever, left unattended, right? It was usually with Rob. Okay, so rarely left unattended. Yeah. Okay, you stated that when it was, that's when you went into the bag correctly. Yeah, one time. Yeah. Okay. And before taking the tape that you allegedly took, you had to watch various tapes, right? Yes. And you had to watch these tapes because just by looking at them, you couldn't tell what was on the tapes, right? Right. Okay. So they weren't labeled in any way, right? Honestly, I'm not sure if they said anything on them. I was just indicating. Okay, so moving on to your testimony about Mr. Brown. You know Mr. Brown to be an assistant, yes. And just to clarify, Yule Brown is a separate person from Milton Brown, right? Exactly, yes. Okay, and I believe you described him in a previous interview as being a runner, assistant, personal assistant, yes. Okay, which means he basically did different tasks that he was asked to do by, yes, Mr. Kelly. And you're aware that runners' assistants picked up money from time to time. Pick up money from the bank? Yes, I guess so. Okay, and they would take that money to Mr. Kelly sometimes. I guess if it was his or for him. Okay, and then if it wasn't, oh God, if it isn't for him, they would give it to whoever he requested they give it to. Yes. So in addition to picking up money and dropping it off, sending it to individuals that he requests, they also drive people, right? Yes. They drive his guests, musicians, family members. They drive, etc., right? Yes. Okay, and they include Mr. Brown, Milton Brown, and all the other assistants and runners, etc., right? Yes. Okay, so you stated that Milton Brown drove you to this attorney's office, the one that's pretty close to here on Jackson Street, I believe you said. Yes. Okay, and when Milton drove you there, he was in the front seat, you were in the back seat. Yes. He let you out of the car. Yes. You went upstairs. Yes. Milton was in the car. He did not go up. That's Lisa saying he did not go up. Okay, he did not go up. No, he didn't. Okay, any other times he did not go up top? Okay, any of the times he did not go up. Okay, I think she's okay. I don't know what she's trying to say. Then Lisa said he did not go up. Okay, and of course, each of the times he drove you there, that was a task that Mr. Kelly asked him to do, right? I agree, yes. Okay, and then you testified that one time you came down crying, right? Mm-hmm. And yes. Okay, so then she said, and Lisa cut her off and said yes. And then she completed her thought and said, you said that you told Milton about that. Yes, well, he asked me, because I was hysterical, like, and then she cuts Lisa off and says, right. So, and then Lisa cuts her off and says, he was trying to figure out why I was so upset. And then she cuts Lisa off again and says, you told him why you were upset because he asked you why you were upset. He was, then Lisa cuts her off and says yes, and then she completes her thought and says concern. Yes. Okay, he asked you what was wrong because he had no idea what happened up there because he wasn't there. I really don't know what he knew about. You know that he was not there, right? He wasn't up there. Regardless of when this threat happened, he wasn't. Then Lisa says, he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't. And then she says, okay. And then Lisa jumps in again, there for the threat. Okay, so again, he drove you to and from destination as he was tasked to do, right? Yes, and that's all he did. Yeah, I assume. Okay, then Miss Leon, no further questions, Your Honor. Then the judge, Miss Bonjean, can you finish by 5 o'clock? And then there's laughter in the courtroom. Bonjean says, I don't think so, but then the judge, all right, we'll suspend until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Have a nice evening. Then the court officer, all rise. Pozzolo, judge, can we address something once the witness leaves? It's the motion we raised the other day that we would like to address at sidebar. It's filed under seal. This should take a couple of minutes, and then the judge says okay, and then the proceedings are heard at sidebar on the record. However, they are redacted, so I don't know what they are. And so that was the end of testimony for August 25th. So we will pick up at a later time for August, what I believe would be, let me see what the next day. What was August 25th? Let me go back. Okay, so August 25th was a Thursday. So we'll pick up on August 26th in our next video. Okay, if all minds are clear, that is it. Go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.